Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Dark, Season 1, Episode 9. It's called Everything Is Now. So, full spoilers for the episode. The device was in action, doing
It
something
was.
of some kind, but of course it was used as a transitional thing in this episode because as each column came up, it went to a different time. This is the first time we've just had like a sort of clear, the first, 10-15 minutes, 1953, the second
Yes,
86.
surprisingly chronological.
Chronological, and it did kind of. So some stuff was just sort of lingering from other plots, but a lot of it was focused on one kind of thing that is largely about a character who we've had around. We know he runs the plant present day, Aleksander. We know he's married to Regina, but other than that, like, we don't know a whole lot about him thus far. He's been
Yeah.
around, and this kind of tells the story of him more than anyone else, along with some more Helga stuff going on. Some Egon, obviously, quite prominent here. What was kind of funny to me, I was just thinking about this as I was watching this episode, is that Regina is easily the least important of the present day adults.
Yeah, she's definitely the one we've had the least of.
Yeah, we've had the least amount of her. And I think it's interesting is I kept expecting for there to be a bigger focus on her at some point, and it's never happened. And I've realised kind of watching this that, at least up until now, that's not a big deal because it's not really her that's important. It's actually her parents and her grandfather who are far more important in the other time periods. Like,
Yeah.
her family are more important in 86 and 53 than we are in present day. Now, I'm sure in present day she's going to eventually maybe become more important, maybe season 2.
She'll do something at some
Yeah.
point, otherwise they wouldn't bother having her here.
But clearly, it's more important about Egon. It's more important about Claudia.
Yeah.
And especially after this episode, I feel like it's playing with them a lot more. And clearly, we were correct that the old lady with all the photographs and all the weapons was
Yeah.
Claudia.
For all of your weird doubting.
I mean, I still thought it was her, but I did have doubts. Like I was quick. It was because she had this look in the photograph where she was like sort of really like looking at the camera.
Do you know what it is? It's after we were wrong, about the kids with Helga.
Yeah,
You're just doubting yourself now. You go,
I'm just doubting myself.
I really want to make sure.
I'm like, yeah, but I thought the two kids looked the same. This is just two old women with white hair. Like, maybe I'm just making the same mistake again. But no, it was her, and that became clear as it came as it went on. So, despite the fact we've got 3 time periods, I think it'll actually be easier to sort of tackle characters because they kind of flow through.
Yeah, they kind of, even though they kind of go in order, they do mix and match their stories.
Yeah, because they're all, which is actually quite smart in a structural point of view, is that it's juggling 3 or like maybe 3 plots, but it's doing it in 3 sort of time zones, but they're all doing it in different
Yeah,
chunks.
it's talented writing that it never gets confusing.
Hey, to be fair, like way back in episode 2, or episode 3, I think it was, when we first went to 86, and we were struggling afterwards talking about it because there was so many names and there was so many characters that we hadn't really got to grasp with yet. But we never felt confused on the episode. I think from then on, it's really shown that it knows how to handle this and juggle everything so that when you're watching it, it doesn't feel confusing. There's been a few things maybe after the fact when we're trying to remember names, it's been a little bit of a puzzle, but
In the episode, you never feel lost,
no, you don't. You always get things from context.
unless it's supposed to be a mystery.
Yeah, unless it's supposed to be confusing. Yeah, because I think Alexander, who's the running the plant present day, and we see him in the past. We hadn't seen him in '86 up until now. We see him. We see someone running through the forest early on with a gun. He's being shot. It's a teenager, or he's more like 20 years old actually, but he's got kind of longer hair. And I'm like, oh. Like, I mean, actually, if you go back to the start of the episode, there's a sort of introduction where it goes from photographs of like people from certain time periods, and I remembered seeing him, but I didn't quite catch who he was next to because I noticed them just sort of quickly cutting through.
They are going very quickly.
It's going quickly, and also we're reading subtitles, so we're not maybe having time to just pay attention to those photos as quickly.
But they
as
were
much.
speeding up as they were going through, which didn't help.
But so I wasn't sure who this was at first, right? And I think the great thing is even though I didn't remember his name, when he said later on to Regina, I'm Alexander, the mere fact that he was helping her, I kind of just went, that's probably her husband who ends up running the plant. And then as the episode went on, even in the 86 portion, the fact that he goes to get a job at the plant, okay, this is adding up. And then we see him in present day, and it all kind of comes together. And the big thing with him, of course, is we see that he's actually not who he says he is. His real name is Boris, and he has 2 passports, and he buries the other one, and he keeps the
And
the
the
new
question
one.
is, we see him. You know, he's been shot at the start. We see him in the forest.
Hmm.
Is that in 86?
Yeah, did he go through the cave after being shot?
Has he come from? I would assume 53 because the passport was planted already. Has he left these things here? Have they been planted ready for him?
Very possibly. Yeah. I'd be curious actually, but it's the sort of thing where someone who's really into guns might be able to tell us like immediately if that gun is too
Yeah,
old,
yeah,
or
it might
well,
well
not too
be.
old, but just it's older than it could be from the 50s
Yeah,
instead of the 80s, and I'm not sure. I was definitely thinking he was from a different time. It's funny, we've not had someone who's travelled forward and lived in the future yet. We've had people go back and live in the past and
yeah.
sort of live out their days in a previous time period. We've not had this version yet, if that's indeed what's happening. Uh, it does make you wonder though, who was Boris specifically? I mean,
Yeah.
admittedly, there's been so many names that I don't think I'd remember, but I'm trying to think if there was anyone in the 50s whose name was Boris.
I don't recall a Boris. And the thing is, the reason I say 50s is because I don't think he can be from 2019 because other characters address, they don't know a Boris. So it's not like there's a Boris gone missing.
Well, yeah, because he switched places with someone named Boris, like.
Yeah,
Or no, he switched not Alexander. So you know what I meant. Like
yeah.
he's taking this identity from someone else because we see the two passports. So I actually think this is mostly a completely new mystery to kind of unravel.
I
Oh,
agree.
I just remembered actually we got a good comment on the last episode, just pointing out a moment that kind of plays really nicely now. From do you remember when Ulrich goes to see old Helga in the hospital and Helga sees him and starts freaking out?
Yeah.
That plays really well now that we know what he did to him as a
Because
kid.
that's as Helga's remembering everything, isn't it?
Yeah, so that plays really nicely now.
Yeah.
So I just want to point that out while it was in my head. But yeah, so we have this, and it becomes relevant in present day because we've seen, and this is where I sort of chuckled to myself as Hannah goes to work at the, because we've seen way back in like episode 1, we saw her at the plant, giving him a massage, right?
Yeah.
And I kind of chuckled to myself when this scene was playing out because I thought, man, like I remember that was her job from like episode 1, but it was kind of proof to me that this show is not pulling punches. Like you have to be keeping up and you have to be
paying attention. Yeah.
They've not reminded us 10 times that that's what her profession is. But.
I think in its defense, it wouldn't have mattered if you didn't remember because
Yeah.
you see her giving a massage and you're like, okay, well this is just a job. Even if you hadn't remembered that from one, like even if that hadn't been there and this had been the first time they showed it, it still would have made sense.
I think it works better because we have seen it before though.
It works better, but I think you would have got it just from context regardless.
I think it works better because I think if she just walked in and we'd never seen this before, we'd be like, oh, okay, I guess she does this. Like, maybe it would be a funny little moment to go, oh yeah, I've realised that we've went 9 episodes and we've never seen what she actually
Yeah.
does for a living. But I think, because obviously we see in the flashback or in the 86 portion, we see young Hannah sees him bury this bag, this
Yeah.
plastic bag, and then in present day we see her take it out of her cupboard and she's got it. I'm like, okay, what's she doing with this? What purpose could she possibly have with this? And it's just after this emotional scene, which by the way, Hannah now, like, she is becoming more and more unsympathetic as time goes by.
Verging on villainous.
Yeah, Katharina comes by. She's looking because Ulrich's been missing for like a day and a half now. Like he's not here. She goes to the police station. Charlotte doesn't know where he is. It's like, oh, he's not with you. He's been suspended. Why is it? And she comes here thinking, oh, he's having the affair. Now we know that Ulrich, since Mikkel went missing, he's not been in the mood for an affair. But Katharina's
She's
thinking
been
the worst.
obsessing still. Yeah.
So she comes by and she's shouting at Hannah, blah 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 blah. Is you here? Did you have sex here on the table? And she's like, just pointing out places. Did you have sex here? Did you have sex here? How could you do this? How could you destroy my family, destroy me, destroy my kids? Both my husband and my son are missing. And after after sort of Katharina gets a bit emotional and kind of calms down in the sense she's not shouting out, she's sort of crying. She sort of shifted to sitting down and being in tears. Hannah sits down and she's like. And at first I'm thinking, oh, she's doing the right thing because she starts by saying, oh, it's over now. And we know it's over now because he did that. And then the very next thing she says is, I ended it. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, Hannah.
Oh no, we've been through this before. The whole rape thing was this.
Yeah. I'm like, oh no, Hannah, what are you doing? Like, and
Yeah.
even at this point, I'm thinking, okay, she's taking credit for it. Okay, maybe it won't get too much worse. And then she sits down. She's like, I mean, he told me repeatedly he wanted to leave you and that he loves me.
And yeah, and I felt obligated to. It's like, you know how he gets.
And I'm like, holy
Oh,
shit, you are like an actual villain at this point.
yeah.
And admittedly, like, I mean, it feels villainous. If I'm going to like really analyze it though, I feel like she is unstable. She's a bit of a sociopath. Um,
Definitely. I did note she never answered when the affair started. Because
she
that
didn't.
was
No,
something
that's
I was
true.
interested in. I was like, okay, was this after her husband died? Like, was this
Well,
after that?
to be fair, Connor, I think this show likes us asking the question that starts with when.
I think it does.
It's kind of part of the show.
But I
Um,
think I think it's really interesting. It changes a lot of, okay, was this filling that void of her husband being
and the
gone?
funny thing is I don't think there's any implication here, one way or the other, as to say, oh, she doesn't answer, and that implies that it's been a long time. It's just because the way it plays it, it's just a case of she just doesn't want to answer it.
Yeah, definitely. It just
Yeah,
moves on, and so that, like, it's not it's a mystery because I want to know, but it's
yeah.
not like it's going, oh, it could be, like it doesn't play it up.
But yeah, it's not something the show itself is like sort of teasing you and going, hey, think
No,
of this, think
I
of
think it
this.
might answer it at some point,
Yeah, yeah,
but naturally, at some, well, I don't need it to know right now. I just want to know.
yeah. Um, so this is already proper villainous. And I'm like, okay, she's basically trying to ruin Ulrich at this point. And then just when you're thinking that, this is when she goes to Alexander. She's got this she just puts the plastic bag on because he's on the masseuse table looking
Mm.
through the do you know how often I wish I had one of these tables to read because it's
It's so good, wouldn't it?
yeah, because sometimes I'll be reading and I want to like lie in my front and I'll have it in front of me and I'll be like my head will be up, but
And then you get your arms go numb
yeah,
really quickly, and it's really annoying.
your neck gets kind of sore, your arms get numb, and I'm like, see if I had one of those masseuse tables where I had the hole for my head and I could just put it in a little table
Just hang
underneath.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, it'd be
be
so
great.
good. So, and maybe like just a sort of slightly slimmer area for my arms so I could reach this thing to turn pages and whatnot.
I think I'd just leave my hands hanging off the sides, to be honest.
Oh, I would too. I'm just thinking it's maybe a bit wide so it wouldn't be comfortable to actually get in.
Oh, okay, I'm with you.
I'm sort of predicting that it might be awkward to actually reach in and
What you do is you read on your tablet, so you just have to tap it.
you just have to
You
tap.
don't
Yeah,
you don't have
okay.
to like physically turn and do that whole motion. You just have
Yeah,
to be on
okay.
one side.
Okay. This is really showing how just the dream of how lazy I could be. This is really what this is. It's the dream of
We've all
laziness.
thought about it.
But yeah, so she just slides the bag underneath and he sees it, and she's like, "Do you recognize that? Do you remember it?" And of course he does. Like he does, and it's interesting to me because she obviously she's like, uh, I don't want money. I just want you to ruin Ulrich. You know, destroy him. Might have been the word she used.
Destroy, yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, how? How do you want me to do that? It's like, I don't care, just do it.
Yeah, say what you have to say, pay who you've got to pay, just get it done.
And it's like, and it's not a hitman job. She's not asking him to, like, it's very specifically worded. Because, I mean,
Yeah,
you could,
she says, I want him to lose everything.
yeah. And it's like, so you assume frame him for something, slander him in some way, get him fired. Now, admittedly, this all might be moot given where Ulrich is right now, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah.
But it is very, very curious, and especially now that we know Alexander might have travelled through time, and maybe,
Might, yeah.
yeah, it's definitely not confirmed, but at the very least he was in a rough situation. But this is the weird thing, is the way he stuck up for Regina, it makes me wonder if he already knew her.
Does this is why I was going, is he from the future? But wouldn't someone know a Boris had vanished?
Unless he's
Like now.
further in the future.
Maybe, but like we said, we haven't seen anyone that's done that yet. If we're assuming 86 is the central point.
Yeah, yeah. There's always a chance of strangers from the future, though, so I think the door's still slightly nudged open.
Okay, I'll allow that.
I think there's a nudge open, and admittedly, he's not dressed like he's from some futuristic place. But if he's been going back through different time periods, maybe he was dressed from a different time period that he'd been to,
That's true. That's
or
true.
something like that. Because I'm just thinking the way. I mean, it doesn't have to be like you could sell it to me that he just sees this happening. Because what's happening, of course, is young Ulrich and Katharina. Katharina's heard, and of course, Hannah's the one who who put the idea in her head. Maybe it was Regina. Her grandfather is the police officer. Maybe.
Yeah.
And she's she needs her. And we actually find out. I assumed before that her being tied up in the woods was the result of the lie that was spread. It turns out that had already happened. That was like a prank that was played during the summer. And speaking of summer, 86 Claudia, or actually no, 2019 Claudia, but she talks about how in 86 the following summer is bad. Like stuff goes down.
Yeah, before that summer, she says.
Yeah, so that's coming up in 86. We're not got to that yet. Because this is what separates her and her daughter.
Yeah, okay.
That was the implication I got from that, because she had the photo out.
I was thinking, because obviously what we've seen in 86, they've kind of been very distant already.
They've been distant, but they're not...
So I was wondering if something had happened the previous... Because obviously this is November that it's set in. So I was thinking, the previous summer that's just happened, whatever's gone on there, is why they've kind of been distant. And it just kind of got worse over time, maybe.
I thought it was teasing new events, but I mean, I could be wrong.
Okay, no, I mean, yeah, it's hard to say.
Yeah, it could be. This photo was taken before that previous summer when they were happy together, and they just started to drift apart from that summer on. So yeah, that's entirely possible. I can't really argue against that.
I think what we need is to either see that picture in 86 or see it get taken.
Yeah. But it's fair to say that they're already in a bad place with each other, because when we first see them in the car back in like episode 3, they're so that's fair. But anyway, so yeah, they're beating her up, and the way he comes out and the way he's really insistent. He pulls out the gun and he's like, back off. I'm wondering. No, I don't think he's related to her, because that'd be weird. But
yeah, that would be weird.
But what if I don't know, what. Not like he's actually her nephew, but what if it's like something like she was friends with his parents at some point in the future, and he respects her, or something. I don't know.
I'd like to think it's just that maybe he's a good person. We know he's willing to do all this shit, and he's getting a second identity. He's got a gun, but maybe this is just supposed to be saying no, he's still a good person despite those things.
Yeah, it could be that. But part of me just thinks he knows who it is, either from future knowledge or from past knowledge. I don't know, maybe he...
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's weird. Because I think the obvious things you always jump to are he's a relative of some kind, but because obviously they end up getting married, I'm assuming it's not incest.
It's all right. I've got another relative of some kind in this episode still to talk about.
Oh dear, that's the same.
Oh, I do.
Oh, there's more. So that's the whole thing, and because he actually phones the guy with the bandage over his eye, the police officer, who I'm not going to remember his name as well, but
he's one eye, isn't he?
He's been around. He helped him remove all the barrels, which someone did point out, by the way. The yellow stuff that was left in the cave is probably from the barrels. That makes a lot of sense. I think it's just been a while since we'd seen them, and it looked like plastic to me at the time, which is why I didn't think barrels. But
no.
But yeah, no, it makes sense. It makes sense. So. Yeah, he phones him and he wants information on Ulrich to maybe ruin him in some way. Anything that you think could be of use, just give it to me. So he's got connections there. I think it's interesting as well, if he is time traveling and he knows about stuff that's going on. It's interesting that he specifically goes to the plant to get a job in 86.
That's what I'm thinking. It's like, okay, but why he wants to position himself there?
Assuming he has travelled in some way, because if he hasn't, if it is just a coincidental thing where he's met Regina, he's protected her, has shaded things that were going on, maybe weren't anything to do with time travel, and he's just he's taken this offer. On the other hand, if he does know her, he knows about the plan, and he has been travelling through time, and he knows it's connected, then he's specifically going there to get a job. I think
that's maybe the biggest argument for, other than just to say he is a good person. The biggest argument for why he comes out and saves Regina at all is he knows this is his way in.
Yeah, it's a cynical thing. It's just a means to an end.
Yeah, and because I don't know if we've ever seen them together, really, in this show. In 2019.
Oh, we have. But
not much. At the start, a little bit.
No, a few episodes ago when she was getting the letter and stuff and he was upset and he was phoning the doctor.
There was a little bit, yeah.
There was concern, he was genuinely concerned about her.
Was. Even that, most of that episode, they were separate, weren't they? But they were. Yeah, you're right. There was concern.
Yeah, but it wasn't separate in a bit. It was just separate, as in they're both at work and stuff.
Yeah,
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 it was.
exactly. I mean, I'm just think
Yeah.
of them together. There
Yeah.
wasn't. There's not been that much of that.
But there was concern because
There was.
he sort of confronted her about it when she came home.
I wonder.
He
I
cared.
wonder if now I'm wondering if that plays as guilt. Like,
It
is
depends.
this cancer caused by this plant?
It could be. Yeah, that's a good
It's
point. It
something
could
that
be.
he's covering up.
Although, yeah, in present day, it said that. I mean, I'll assume he cares about her, at least for now.
Yeah.
Especially since, at least if we're going with the whole cynical tangent of, did he do this just as a way in? I don't know if I buy that completely, just because it doesn't seem like Regina would tell her mother that she was being attacked like that. It doesn't seem like she knows her daughter was in
No,
a
that's
situation like that, because he doesn't tell her, he just says, oh, I just, we know he just met her and helped her out, but,
Yeah.
like, he doesn't mention that, he just...
Well, this is the thing. He just says to Claudia, it's like, oh, Regina said you could help me out. And it's like, did Regina just offer that, going, hey, you go get a job, go speak to her?
I don't think so. It doesn't sound like it's something she knows about.
It doesn't, does it?
It sounds like Regina suggested it, and her mother doesn't know anything about it. Her mother's shocked when he shows up. Like, oh, who's this asshole?
Yeah, but I mean, even between Regina and Alexander, like, did she just suggest that to him? Or, because obviously we don't see this really, or does he go, you know know anywhere I can get a job? Kind of, does he prod at it? Because if he
maybe.
prods at it first, I'm more inclined to think it's cynical. At least at first.
But even then, that doesn't work though, because it only works if the mother knows he saved her.
No, just like, oh, do you know where I can get a job? And she'll say, oh, go speak to my mother. Tell her that you're my friend, sort of thing. Because he clearly introduced himself as that.
Oh yeah, no, that's how he gets in the door. That's true. We need more. we need more on him.
I'm just thinking, because Regina wouldn't have met with him. No, sorry, Claudia wouldn't met with him at all.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. That said, it'd probably work even faster if she knew that he'd saved her in a pinch.
It might do, yeah.
Unless they got really specific, because then she'd wonder why I had a gun, and then be like, "Oh no, you're shady. I don't want you around my daughter."
Yeah, exactly. Maybe that's why you don't go that specific.
Yeah, and then she does eventually hire him like the next day, because obviously, the 1986 Claudia has a lot of reasons, and it actually makes sense why she's so interested in everything, and why crazy old Claudia with the white hair has this big wall, because her dog, when she was a little kid, and we see her looking for the dog towards the start of the episode in the 50s, we saw it ran into the cave, and then in 86, she's in the cave, she goes back down, and she's been down once before looking at the barrels and whatnot, and her dog runs up to her, and she's like, wait, is that my dog from when I was like 10? What's happening?
Yeah,
And
it's like, looks like my dog.
yeah, and it's funny actually.
And I assume it has a collar on as well with the name.
Oh, probably, yeah. Which I imagine it'll have to, because to be honest, I've had even the cat I had that passed away in 2010. If I saw it just now, like, I'd be like, oh, that looks like my old cat, but I wouldn't. There would be nothing that actually says to me, oh, it's my cat that's time travelled, or my cat somehow came back after all this time.
Maybe if you check the microchip,
but
assuming it was chipped.
It was not. Well, house cats. I don't need microchips.
Should still be chipped.
But I feel like, and I had a cat when I was like a kid as well. I had a cat until I was 8. I vaguely remember what color it was. I couldn't spot it in a lineup now though. Like,
Yeah.
so it's a generic little white dog. Like,
It
lots
is.
lots of these things.
It's just, it's like my dog. Go and look at it and go, why is it in this cave?
Yeah. But I'm not critiquing it. I'm not critiquing it because I assume there's a tag that'll kind of confirm our suspicions and so on.
Yeah, if you see a tag that says Gretchen and you go, well, hang on a second.
Did you actually remember the name was Gretchen?
I did. They said it a lot. She was calling after it.
Okay, all right. But no, so obviously she she hires young Aleksander, aka Boris, to basically help you, because that welded door that's down there, which we see in present day, it looked like it was welded again in present day, but I mean it's hard to tell really. It just looked
It could have just been faded.
Yeah, but she's getting him to cut into the door so she can get in and see what's going on. She's investigating things. So we see that in those 33 years, by the time we get to present day, she has the wall and the guns. So she shows up in 2019 to Bartos, her grandson, and comes in as like, hey, yeah, you've never met me, your mother said I was dead, and to her I basically was. And I'm wondering if, she grew obsessed with this. She
I think this is maybe the biggest argument for you were right about the summer being like, okay, no, she discovers this now, and that summer is when the obsession kicks in.
Yeah, that makes some sense to me because it's especially this whole I mean, she didn't even say to him that she was alive. She lied and said she was dead. I mean, that's pretty extreme.
It is.
Yeah, so I don't know if we've seen it extreme enough for that yet. But if she becomes obsessed, and I don't blame her for becoming obsessed, because if you find proof of time travel, and
I'm gonna be obsessed, yeah.
Yeah. By the way, I love that she's got the dog just sitting on her desk in a little blanket in her office, and then her assistant comes in and just like, is that a dog? She doesn't say that out loud, but you just see it in her face. Like,
yeah.
Is that a goddamn dog? Wait,
what's the dog doing here?
Can we bring pets to work? Can we do that too? Is that a thing?
Boss can.
Oh, the boss can. But no, so fascinating stuff. I was loving all this. It's funny because Claudia and Aleksander up until now have been relatively minor characters.
Well, yeah, I mean, Claudia has only been in 86 and 53 up till this point.
Well, yeah, I think we got like a one shot of her as an old woman at some point, but
maybe, but we didn't know it was her.
Yeah, it's just I think I'm going to give this show credit because it's got balls. It's got balls that it can basically treat most people equally. Honestly, like I feel like Ulrich and Jonas feel like maybe a little bit more like main characters than other people do, but not by a whole lot.
No, not a lot.
And there's certain characters who are really important for an episode, and then are just kind of like small characters for the rest of it. And sometimes that's early on, sometimes it's late in the season. But either way, it's all sort of clicking together. And I give them balls for not feeling like, no, we have to have a central protagonist who's the main character.
It's a proper ensemble, isn't it?
Yeah. In lots of weird and wonderful ways. So I respect that. Because I think back in episode 1, I expected Jonas to be the main character for a lot of it.
I agree. And even now I'd say Jonas and Ulrich, because they're the ones actively investigating or doing this. Like the two strands of the investigation have been going on for a while. Whereas obviously Claudia is clearly investigating, but we're only just learning that. So yeah.
But all of a sudden she's super important. All of a sudden Aleksander seems important.
Oh, definitely.
And before they didn't seem. I mean, no, I didn't think they would be eventually, because obviously the show is kind of playing that way. But I'm just kind of pointing out how much of a shift it is for some characters. How all of a sudden, oh man, there's a lot more going on with these people.
And interesting, cool. Like for example, Peter Doppler. Like we haven't seen a lot of him in a while.
We haven't, but we know he's involved. We know something leads to him.
Yeah.
So all this, it's all very interesting, especially since we see Helge in this episode. He's not dead for a start. He wakes up.
Well, obviously.
And we also see him in 86. We see Egon comes round to pick up because he doesn't show up for his interview, and he comes round and he just hides. He's at the cabin and he's actually working. We see him and Noah in later on. He's actually putting up the wallpaper. He's dressing it up right now.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating stuff. Which means that all the stuff we've seen in that room
has yet to come.
It was a little bit later in this, but really fascinating. But just him hiding in the cabin. There's a really nice little suspenseful scene. And Egon goes up and checks the cellar door, and he's checking the padlock, and he's like, okay, nothing I can do. But it's all very suspicious. But we see that Helga's, he's not comfortable with what he's doing at the very least. He's saying to Noah, like, I don't know if I can keep doing this. Because obviously they're killing kids essentially. Of course he's right to have a conscience here, and Noah gets all like very aggressively sells him on it from a cult leader religious kind of way,
pseudo philosophical.
Yeah, and he gets very very antagonistic about it. Like in that way, he can sort of sell it off later as I'm just very passionate about my religion, but not.
Well, see, no, but this is the thing. He's not passionate about his religion because he's kind of going, yeah, no, there's not a God that does all this. It's we have to take responsibility.
Oh no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying the way he sells it, it's like a religious person selling their religion. Like he's like, not just your regular pastor, like someone who is like doomsday testify.
I'm with you now.
All this stuff's coming. Like that's how he sounds when he's talking about it. Just about this specifically. But no, it's just really interesting stuff.
Just while you mentioned that, this is where I mentioned a family connection.
Yeah, no, this is worth bringing up. We spoke last episode how about Tronte's mother the new woman in town, very very even little Claudia is talking about how pretty she is. Oh, she's like a movie star. She's
Very
this,
elegant.
yeah, very elegant. And Egon's wife,
Doris.
There you go, Doris. So we noticed they had a moment, and it seemed like an attraction, and even more so. Tronte's mother during this episode, like she's made her like dress up in one of her dresses. He's like, "Oh, you look great in it," and she feels uncomfortable. She's like, "No, you look great," and she like ties a little knot thing. I don't even know what you call that. It's like a little side
thing.
Thing, yeah. but it's very the way it's filmed is very very sexual. She keeps sort of kneeling down in front of the mirror, and it's very. Like, I'm getting on my knees for, like, and the way she kept looking down at her, there was a lot of sexual imagery going on, but nothing was happening, of course, but it was just, like, it's what's going through her head.
Both feeling it.
Yeah.
Because you see, Doris, she's getting a bit uncomfortable with the way this is going.
Yeah, she gets uncomfortable, and she actually says, "Oh, no, I can't accept this gift. It's not me. Like, what will Egon think?" And she leaves, she walks out of the room. But, of course, during this conversation, one of the things that's mentioned, and someone pointed out in the comments actually that this relationship might end up explaining why Ulrich's family owns this place after this, because right now they don't. They've just moved here.
No, they don't. You're right. So if Doris and Egon split, and she gets together with Agnes.
And to be fair, in 1986, we've not seen anything that implies that Egon is still with his wife.
We've not, and I wonder maybe that could explain some of the bitterness as well, against Ulrich specifically.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Because I mean, hell, he's like, I mean, young Ulrich actually says he thinks I'm the Antichrist. Like the way he talks to him, he's like, "Oh, I know there's something up with you," and it could explain it. That's why he hates him so much. I mean, he's literally living in his old house.
Yeah, and he's like, "No, I hate that family."
Yeah, no, it makes a whole lot of sense, and especially given the time period. That lesbian relationship, if it gets out and becomes public knowledge, would be really looked down upon in that time.
Oh, definitely.
So
we have drifted from the point that we were getting to.
Yeah. But all this is good stuff, though. This is why it's so easy to drift in this when we've not talked about these points yet. But yeah, so Tronte's mother mentions that she left her husband, and we obviously had some implications last episode that he was a bad person. The burns on Tronte's arms, that kind of thing. And she mentions that he was a pastor. And of course I'm like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, as soon as she says that, I'm like, okay.
Especially since we also seem to find out in the scene between Noah and Helge in the bedroom thing.
Noah's not his actual name.
Yeah, he's taken that because he sees his potential time travel device, aka the chair, which we still don't know exactly what they're doing with the chair. Obviously, we know it's to do with time travel, and that further specified that. I think maybe he could be more broad here and say that he wants control. He talks a lot about controlling the beginning and the end of time, and basically making himself God in essence, right? But anyway, so he says like, "Oh, this is the Ark," and that makes me Noah, and that's how he calls himself Noah. But so here's the thing: so I instantly think, wait, is that him?
And the other line that she says, it says, he was a pastor, but he was no man of faith. Yeah. And I think that's really interesting how in the scene with Noah and Helga, he's very much denouncing God.
Yeah. But does it add up? Does it add up that Ulrich's grandfather is this Noah? Especially since, like, because here's my doubt against it, and I could be wrong here, but the way I'm interpreting, because I think Noah is already in the town in the 50s. He already seems to live there. And if they've moved to this town to get away from him, that doesn't add up, right? Unless he doesn't live here. I just kind of assumed that because we see him at one point next to a church in a previous episode.
We do.
From the 50s.
That's fair.
That could be a different town, though. Like, I mean,
who's he having the discussion with this episode? I'm sure we see him talking to someone, don't we?
Bartos in 2019.
Yeah. No, I'm thinking of a different scene. I thought he was talking to someone else at some point.
And obviously, just to hit in that Bartos scene, actually, I think it's very clear there, at least to me, that he's trying to recruit Bartos in the same way that he used Helga before.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Helga's no use to him now.
So yeah, he's trying to use Bartos.
I wonder if he did have Pete, and then Pete Doppler has kind of backed out, so he's like, all right, well, I need someone else.
Maybe, although I wonder if Helga. Maybe Peter was never involved, but Helga told him about everything, and he's sort of fighting against it now. Like him and
No, maybe.
Who's he working with again?
Who?
Peter. It's Peter, and he's working with someone.
Oh, shit.
Oh, it's I think his dad. Ulrich's dad. Remember?
Yeah, Ulrich's dad.
Yeah, remember he keeps disappearing. He was working with him.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
so,
yeah.
so maybe they're working against. They're trying to figure out things so they can work against Noah. They might be the anti-Noah.
Okay.
Potentially.
Yeah.
I think there's stuff there. If this is Ulrich's grandfather, that's like a whole other can of worms of like.
It is, because that would mean he's abducting his own family line with Mads.
Yeah, that's true. And would he want to experiment on his own family? Maybe that's an implication that it's not his family.
Well, or alternatively, maybe it's not, because it's not an experiment from his perspective. Maybe Mads was the first, and he thought this is going to work. So it's more because he thinks he's going to be saving them, or whatever he's doing. Maybe they're not.
To be fair here though, at least at this point, Mikkel wasn't necessarily taken.
No, Mikkel wasn't, but that's what I just said, Mads.
I'm just saying it's just one example and not two.
It is, yeah.
For the record, which actually funny thing about that is all the way back in episode 1. We weren't sure, like, we had a lot of questions because Mikkel just appeared to vanish out in the middle of the forest, and that's something we've still never really went back to and kind of like seen how that happened. And it does make me wonder, like, I wonder if Mikkel actually says something soon where he implies that someone did take him into the cave, and maybe there'll be
that's still confusing me. I wonder, did he run back into the cave? Did he get confused? I don't really know, but it was running. They were running away from the cave, so it seems strange.
So yeah, I wonder how that happened. I feel like there's an answer to that we might get at some point.
Here's the other thing: if Noah is Ulrich's grandfather, Jonas is presumably going to fight against him, right? Assuming Jonas is our hero.
Okay, yeah.
So that's also his descendant. So it becomes a family battle.
Yeah, I mean, not that he'd necessarily want to kill him to fight him to stop him, but if he did kill him,
he can't kill him. That's the thing, because then he would stop existing if he kills him.
Oh,
no,
obviously,
he's already had the kid.
Oh, yeah, he's already had the kid. Yeah,
he's already had the kid, so it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so we had that little drop of, and the fact that, I mean, this is the thing. It's open enough that it could just not be him, but of course we just like as soon as she says pastor, it's like, oh wait a minute.
Like I said, last episode when she said he was dead, but she gave the look at Tron, like, okay, it's not really. We both know what's going. Like there's more going on. We're just not telling them.
And thematically speaking, that's now two characters who have said their parents have died to their kids with it in.
Oh yeah.
Well, actually, mentally. They told different people, but it's just two times of someone saying that their partner or in the other case their mother.
Yeah, that saying someone is dead when they're not really. Yeah.
Which is in a weird way kind of like is how you if you just think about Mikkel, right? He'll be presumed dead probably forever now, and they'll have to maybe accept that and maybe give him a little funeral. But he's not actually dead. They'll actually think he is, but he's not.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, I mean, he is now by 2019 because he killed himself.
He is now,
but he wasn't.
He wasn't.
Yeah.
God, time travel.
Oh dear. So, okay, some small nuggets still worth mentioning. Old Helge is in the 80s because he's watching himself.
Yeah, he's watching The Cabin.
Yeah. Not much more there, but worth mentioning.
I wonder, does he have regrets? Because we know that, when he always said, I can change things, I can change the past. Yeah. Is he going to go back and try and stop whatever's going on?
Yeah, it seems that way. It seems like he wants to. Does he just try and kill himself, essentially?
Yeah, that's a good point. Just stop himself existing. Again, it's one of these points where he knows he'll have had the kids at that point, so he's safe that he won't be screwing up future generations.
Yeah. Which is interesting. We've never actually seen his wife, have we? Or at least...
No. Well, because we speculated that she lives elsewhere, remember, because Peter said he didn't come and live with Helga until 87.
That's right. So yeah, so he would have already had him, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Lot of moving things to keep track of here. So we got that. Worth mentioning the stranger. Part of his plan, he actually goes and finds the truck full of the yellow barrels with the. And I liked how it really emphasised that radiation symbol. Because remember we were talking about how it was similar to the Trinity symbol. It's like, very nice, very nice. So he's getting that waste. He's going for it.
He's doing something with it. Yeah. I wonder, does he think does it power the machine? It wouldn't be implausible.
Yeah, is this the equivalent in Back to the Future of getting the lightning for the instead of the plutonium
nuclear waste? It works.
Yeah, maybe. Actually, we heard some talk about the accident actually, because Claudia goes to ask about it and say what happened. And it sounds like publicly no one knows about this. This was also a cover up, like something happened, but they were able to contain it, and nothing, at least from their perspective, too dangerous actually happened. But
I mean, I'd say definitely nothing too dangerous. We know it's had an effect on time and the birds, but and maybe some people, but it's definitely not outrageously bad. It's not a nuclear disaster level.
Sure. I would argue, though, that if it's had an effect on people in any way, then it's enough that people should have known about it.
They should have known, but it's not like when he's saying, it's not too bad. I think he thinks, it's not going to kill anyone.
I can just see you as the PR guy for this nuclear power plant being on and just like, well, it's only affected a few people. It's not that bad. Let's, give it a rest.
That'd be better than that if I was going to do PR. I'm not defending them. I'm just saying from his perspective.
Hey, only 5 people with cancer they didn't need to get. It's a win in this case. It's a win.
Well, I mean, statistically, it's not that bad.
see, the cold logic, it does not help you in PR.
It doesn't, no.
You want spin. You need to spin everything.
You do need to spin.
So Stranger's doing that. Old Claudia not only is aware of everything, she's also using the crossing, because she goes to 1953, and the machine that the watchmaker builds is at her request. She comes in with schematics, lays them out, and he's like, hey, build this. And interestingly as well, you also see him, he's made a new battery for the phone, because the battery obviously ran out, and he's got obviously he doesn't have a charging cable, because why would he?
Yeah, but so he's hooking it up.
Yeah, he's building like a little battery he can slot in, which is actually really cool, because the connectors and stuff would still make sense to him from an electricity point of view if he builds things. So he would understand enough to I can rig this to give it some power.
Yeah, I mean a clock will have a battery. Some of them.
Of course, I wasn't being specific to his profession. I was just meaning.
Oh no, I was just saying, it's the idea of for watches, they're all the intricacies, and they'll deconstruct and put back together. That's his thing. So it's it's just reverse engineering it. It's nice.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is just the idea of how a battery works has not changed. So
he would, core concept.
He would rig it quite easily if you know what you're doing. So I like that. I like that little touch that he's looking at it. He's like he's probably been browsing through it. And by the way, he's lucky it wasn't password protected, wasn't
he? He is lucky. You're right. Were you playing it? Especially as a police officer, I feel like.
And someone having an affair.
Yeah. I mean that's even more reason to doubt this. This is the first thing I'm calling bullshit on.
Everything else makes complete sense. Him not having a password.
Everything else is played by the rules and has been understandable. Him not having a password on his phone when he's having an affair. No, not having it.
Yeah. Now, admittedly, I'm not having an affair, but I've never had a password on my phone.
Oh, I always have a password. Well, I mean, at the minute it's now a fingerprint, but I've always had a password.
Maybe if I had a fingerprint one, I'd maybe use it, but I tried having a password for like a week, and I hated having to put it in, so I just took it off.
Oh no, just the con.
And it was the Samsung one. It was just like you do a little squiggle of you'd have like the 9 dots, and you make a shape out of it. That's your password.
And that's just the thing. I've got things like banking app and stuff like that. It's like, well, I'm going to put a password on this.
I know, that makes sense. I'm just it's laziness. It's pure laziness.
I don't on my tablet because there's nothing on that. I just use it to read and stuff.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't have a password on my tablet either.
Yeah.
I don't feel the need.
Some interesting tech talk.
Yeah, why not? Yeah. Also, we got a comment about him. Do you remember we questioned, why would he look in the pocket? So someone was saying, the weight of the phone and the jacket swinging a little bit because of the weight was maybe what made him curious. But yeah,
I get it. But again, could just be a wallet in your pocket. Seems a bit nosy.
It could be. No, but I think her explanation of him like maybe looking for a way to contact him is reasonable enough.
I'm happy with that for myself. I mean, just to go back to the actual schematics. So Claudia's providing them.
Yeah.
But did she come up with them, or has she discovered? Is this another loop where she's found these schematics and and gone, okay, now I want to come back to get it built?
I think this is further evidence there might be another future time period.
You think someone else in the future has designed it?
Yeah, because before I was sort of willing to say that this guy just kind of like concocted this after maybe he got the phone, that started his curiosity, and he had already written about wormholes and whatnot. So he's or no, he hadn't actually. That was in the 80s, but yeah. But that's maybe what led him to the book, and that's all of it sort of went together. Yeah. But if she's whipping out schematics and handing them to him, if he got this from somewhere else, I'm tempted to think it's not him they come from.
My question is, if I mean, when I say that, do the schematics, does she reverse engineer someone in the future, reverse engineer it, and then give him back the schematics so he can build it? Becomes this cycle, which again is another big theme of the show. The reason I think maybe it's not from another future, if someone's good enough in the other future to design this, why can't they just build it and take the device back? Or do they have to go and get someone else to build it?
Doesn't that go for, like, no matter where this comes from, though? If someone else designed this, why does it have to be him that builds it?
Which is why I think it still has to be him that designed it in some way. It's one of these self-repeating things where it's his design that they reverse engineer it to get the schematics.
That makes sense to me to a point. I think my only question at that point is then, though, well, it's a bit of a paradox because he never thought of it if he got the schematics.
It is, but this show is full of paradoxes at this point.
But the thing is, though, is like if it has to be him because he's the only one who'll understand it. If he's reading the instructions and building it from instructions, then surely anyone who's smart enough could build it from instructions.
No, it's true. It's true.
It is curious though. I don't think she came up with it though.
Okay, here's an argument as to why it has to be him that builds it. If they reversed engineer the schematics from the device,
okay,
it has his initials on it. So to preserve that, they go, oh, this has his initials, his signature. He has to be the one to build this. That's why Jonas. That's why the stranger goes and sees him in the first place. Because it's like, this has your initials. You built this. This is why I'm talking to you about it.
He did build it.
He did build it. So that's why I'm thinking. If let's say Claudia has seen this device, right? And let's say that's why she's got the schematics. It's been reverse engineered to these schematics. And she's like, I've got to give him the schematics to build it in the first place. She knows he has to build it because it's his signature on it.
That's fine. I don't know. The whole reverse engineering thing, and that's how we have schematics, I'm not jumping on.
Okay, that's fair.
I don't know. I think it's more interesting if they came from somewhere. Like if this is actually...
No, it's true. It's more interesting. I think it's just kind of the easiest assumption at this point for me.
I think because it possibly opens up this door where someone else in the future designed this thing.
I get that, but I think at this point, until the machine is active and creates a new wormhole...
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it is in this episode, it's active and doing something. We don't know the context of what it's doing at this point, because it's used as a bridging device, but theoretically it's doing something right now.
That's true. And notably, Claudia doesn't come back to this until after it's fully active.
Yeah, assuming it's happening in time with what's going on. Yeah. In this episode.
Which I mostly am assuming.
Yeah. In that case, yeah, maybe there's a new loop that's opened up. This I don't know. The fact that she presents them with this, and they don't look like old or tattered or anything like that, they look brand new. They look brand spanking new. I feel like she got them from someone else. What's interesting is it doesn't feel like to me that her and the stranger are working together.
No, that's fair. At least we have no evidence to suggest that yet.
No. Yeah. And what's funny though is that she gives him schematics in the 50s, and then the stranger shows up in the 80s wanting him to fix the one that he already has. So, obviously everything's circular, but just in that sense, like she has to... She does this later, but she has to go back first before that can even happen.
Yeah, no, I'm with
you. Before he's built the thing.
This is why, you say, oh, it's a paradox if he gets the schematics to create it himself. like this show is built on circular paradoxes.
Oh,
Like
it is.
Mikkel.
It is. I don't know. I don't know. It's reverse engineered, just not that exciting to me, I guess.
Oh, that's fair. It's It's definitely the least exciting. But
yeah,
it's the one that springs to mind.
So I'm just looking for different ways because it's not as exciting to me. But honestly, if it's something different, we'll probably never guess it because it'll be some new information that'll spark it and
Yeah,
send us down the thing.
definitely.
I'm hoping. I'll accept it's him if it's him, like after he's no. I'm trying to think of timey-wimey things to make it more exciting, but it's okay. It's fine. But we'll see. We'll see. So that's gonna. I'm sure there's things we'll skip through here. We've been darting around all over the place in this one.
I mean, we should mention Ulrich. What's happened
Of course,
to him.
yeah. Like that's how we start the episode, and like Egon's like once to find out about little Helga has went missing. He remembers Ulrich because that was suspicious. He was asking about him, and he was kind of erratic and whatnot. And he's driving. And I was thinking, Ulrich, why are you walking down the side of the road like that, where you can be seen?
I know. Just stop it, you idiot.
Just walk in the same direction, but do it maybe like,
Just, 20 feet into the woods.
Exactly. Yeah. Away from the
you
road.
can see the road, so you. I mean, I assume he knows his way anyway because he seems
town.
relatively familiar. Yeah. But even if not, just in case you're not that familiar with these woods, just keep the road in sight, so you're always parallel, but don't be on it.
Yeah. But sure enough, Egon sees him and he has to run, and I'm like, oh, get to the cave, Ulrich, get to the cave, and he's right outside the cave when the chase ends. But Egon's got the gun, but what's interesting to me is Ulrich himself is sort of starting to think about time travel because he's surprised when he's like, because when Egon mentions the dead bodies, because he accuses Ulrich of being the one who does something to them, he's like, wait, why are they still there? I changed it, God damn it, why are they still there?
Yeah.
And we know he's not. And what I think is interesting to me, so obviously we have Ulrich, and it's really funny to me that Egon, while he hates young Ulrich and in the 80s, had already arrested older Ulrich in the 50s.
I love this thematic link here because obviously we have this here, and then it cuts into young Ulrich in prison in the 80s, and he's like, I've seen that face before. I know those eyes. I know what those are capable of, and he's just talking about the ideas. But
he's not aware it's the same person.
Yeah, but it works so well as a transition.
No, it was really nice, and it makes me like, does Ulrich stay stuck here? Who does he become in the 80s if he's old in that time period? That's interesting. If he does stay there, if he does get out, how does he get out? And then the interesting thing for me though is that we know that Helga makes it back to his family because obviously he works for his father in the future. He's clearly back home at some point, but how does he get there?
Yeah, who finds him? I mean, he wakes up, so he could just get out, right?
Yeah, I think he's trapped in that place. I don't know if the door was locked or whatever. Maybe not.
I'm not sure. But
here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. When we saw him in the room with the wallpaper, he was still bloody from his head injury.
That's true.
So he has to get to there somehow, which is the same room but in a different time period.
So yeah, he has to go into the 80s now.
Yeah, he has to go through the cave in some way. Maybe old Helga comes and gets him. Maybe Noah comes and gets him. Who knows?
Yeah. This could have been one of those cases where they go because they know that's how it happened, sort of thing.
Yeah, they go and get him because they know he'll be there because Helga knew he was
remembers being there. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, time travel.
Time travel.
I just was meant to say. I just remembered. When Aleksander has the gun out and he's pointing at Ulrich and Katharina, and they're like, "How do we even know that's real?" I was really pleasantly surprised that he turns the gun to the side. And I expected him to shoot it and go see, but he just pulls the clip out and shows them the bullets. I'm like, oh yeah, look, that was much nicer. I don't think I've ever seen it done that way before. It's just you always just see him just shoot at the ground or shoot at to see, look, it's real.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that way, but yeah,
there's not. But I think this is just a case of subverting those expectations because there's nothing wrong with it. It's used for a reason because it's like clearly this is what this is.
It's also scarier because you make a loud noise, you jolt them.
There is exactly. Whereas this, I thought it was just interesting they did something different. I don't think I've ever seen it done this way, but yeah. It's nice.
Yeah.
I think we might have covered everything now.
I think that's everything. Honestly, that ended up in a much more haphazard conversation, dancing around all the plot lines more than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I remember when you said, "Oh, considering it's all these three plot lines, we should be just go straight through it quite simply."
They all interconnected, though. It was.
They did. And again, it sounds really like it's confusing and jumping all over the place if you just listen to us, I imagine.
Yeah.
Because we're just kind of cutting between us all. This leads to that, leads to this, leads to that. But it really flows well in the episode.
It does. It makes sense. Also, just a little character moment I really liked is you see, after this has all happened, in 86, young Regina, if you remember way back in like the first time we saw her in the car, her mother complained about her hair looking bad.
And she's brushing it.
And she's brushing it. And you get the sense that she likes Aleksander. She's like, oh, I want you to look good for, or look better now. I want to attract him or whatever.
Definitely. That was the other Regina moment we haven't mentioned as well in 2019 when she goes into the stranger's room.
Of course. I like the little thing before that, though. The reason why she's cleaning is because she's at the front desk, and you get the sense that business is so bad that there's dust on the counter.
Oh, you feel bad for her. She's like, oh, there's dust here. And it's not because it's dirty that you feel bad. It's like, that means no one's coming and using this.
Yeah, exactly. Because whenever you ever been in a not public building, but like anything like a hotel or a restaurant or anything that has a counter, anything that has a front desk, right? Where you go up and like see whoever's working there. How often or ever have you seen a counter be dusty like that?
Yeah, I know.
When it's operating.
A shop's a good example.
Yeah, shop. Yeah, anything with a counter, basically.
Yeah,
a front desk, like. So no, it feels like, oh man, business is really bad. And also, again, it's just this idea of time has passed. That's how dust just appears over time, essentially.
Yeah. And it's the idea that she's just stood there all this time. We're saying how she's not really done anything that much in the present in terms of plot wise at the moment. She has been kind of stood at that counter for most of it.
Yeah. I think that's maybe harkens to her character a little bit. Maybe we'll see how she becomes more like this in the 80s as time goes on. But so she's hoovering, she's hoovering around, and she ends up. She's going to do the different rooms. She goes into the stranger's room and she sees everything that's all pinned up and whatnot. And now a lot of it. Obviously, she'll react because this is crazy. This guy's put stuff up all over the walls, and there's like stuff. There's a nice diagram at one point I noticed in the background of like a wormhole that's split in three. I was like, oh, I get that, given everything we've seen so far. But the two things that she notices that might actually sort of not explain, but at least actually prod at what's going on is you see the symbol, and each point of it has a year.
Yeah.
So that makes sense to an extent. Then the main one, of course, is the newspaper clip of Mikkel that says, when is Mikkel? And of course, I don't think she'll believe him unless she's seen something when she was younger that her mother was talking about that maybe this corroborates.
That's the thing. There's more to her that we don't know yet.
On its own, I don't think this is enough to make you think, oh, time travel's real, this guy's just crazy. But if she ever saw anything, because one of the things we're seeing here is that there's some people maybe saw something as a kid that didn't make sense on its own, but now they're seeing something that sort of connects to it
things
as an
they
adult.
just dismissed because obviously, and now they're going, what if
Charlotte with the birds?
Yeah, and obviously Ulrich had his brother before he went back. He had the body, and we see Charlotte listening to the voice message. The question isn't where, it's when.
Yeah. Oh, which reminds me of the one thing we've not talked about. Jonas and Martha.
Ah, yes, the awkward scene.
Oh yes, I love this scene so much.
Yes, so when I say awkward, I mean intentionally the best kind of awkward.
Because he's not responding to her calls, and she keeps calling them. Because we even had a little scene with Magnus and
Francesca.
I keep forgetting her name. Who seem to be casually, they're in a relationship. Maybe not the most common relationship in the world, but they're having sex on a regular basis, and so out in the open that like she comes down the stairs and like Martha's just sitting there on the couch watching TV. She's like, hey, what are you doing here? Your brother, bye. Not an actual line of dialogue, of course.
No, she's just like, hey, and then the brother walks down the stairs after, and she's like, oh.
Also, I liked it when he walks down. He's not even wearing socks, so you can tell that he just threw on some trousers and a top.
The same way that she just did.
Yeah, but when there's a lot about character stuff where he's like asking what are you really? What do you really do? Who are you? Want to know about your life? And she's like, not today. But you get the sense that maybe she will eventually kind of open up. She's maybe conflicted about actually, connecting with someone.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Martha's upset, and Jonas is not responding to her. And we know why he's not responding to her. He doesn't want to open that can of worms.
Damn good reason not to respond.
And of course, it's pissing of rain once again. He's coming home. She's there, and she comes and she's standing there on the rain. She's like, "Oh, why are you not responding to me, Jonas? What's happening? What was that after the play? Like, what you make out with me because I'm emotionally, vulnerable right now, or stable was the word." And I'm like. I was like, Jonas, at least say no to that. Say no to that. don't throw yourself under the bus. And she's just like, and he's just like, I don't think we're right for each other. We're just.
This is a bad match. This is wrong.
Yeah. Because she even says, "Is it because of Bartos? Is that why you feel bad?" And he's like, "Nah, not really."
Just should have gone. Just say yes. Just go. Just yes.
Yeah, play that card.
Right.
That card works. But it's not. We're just not a good match for each other. And she leans in to kiss him, and I'm like, oh god. Look, it's like a horror movie now. Yeah. And she kisses him in the rain, pouring her rays. Is this, this would be like such a romantic moment if it wasn't for the fact that they're related. And the best part about it, though, that I think gives it depth, is that he doesn't stop her, and then he gets into the kiss and keeps kissing her. And I'm like, oh, this is opening so many cans, so many worms, so many cans.
It's like I can't help it. This attraction was there long before I knew.
Yeah, do you know what I think works about it so well is that he did already have feelings for it, and he can't just turn them off. Like, I mean, yeah, logically this is weird now, and it maybe feels weird.
Do you know that's a real thing as well, where if people who are related, if they don't see each other for most of their lives, and then when they meet, there's like a higher chance of them being attracted to each other than normal.
Do you know what's funny actually is I've always said that a stepbrother and sister who have grown up since they were young together, like say their parents get married when they're like 3 and 4 or whatever.
Yeah.
If they grow up together, to me, if they start like having some sort of weird relationship later on, that is way creepier to me than a real brother and sister who never know.
Yeah, genetically that's weird. Obviously, it's wrong, but they never knew.
Yeah, because
these are strangers to each other.
Yeah, to me, it's the relationship of a brother and sister that becomes sexual that's creepy to me. Now, admittedly, if you have a brother and sister who don't know about it and then you tell them, I don't know how you proceed from there. Admittedly,
that was in the news like 2 or 3 years ago, where there was this couple who they only found out they were related at the wedding, when they were inviting the families, and they both had like this distant uncle or something that they both invited.
At least that was at least that's a distant relation, though, right?
Well, no. But then it turned out that it was actually they were like cousins or something like that.
Yeah, still better than brother and sister, though.
It is, yeah. But it was like closer than you'd like.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Yeah.
And they were like, well, screw it. We didn't know. We're getting married anyway.
Yeah. Like. Yeah, I'm not. I'm not supporting incest. I'm just saying that it's the relationship of like.
It's the perversion of this relationship of someone that you knew and grew up with versus the actual genetic.
Yeah. Whereas if you didn't know them, admittedly, it's weird once you find out. And I'm not sure what my advice is to a couple like that once you do find out. Because
don't find out.
Yeah, don't find out because it'll just make life difficult. But because obviously at that point you're like, especially if it's as close as aunt and nephew or
and this thing, I'm sure it does happen because again, like it is a thing where you're attracted to them because there's this obviously you recognize something in them even though that you don't know it's a family recognition. You have a connection. Supposedly it's something that happens a lot.
I'm suddenly very happy I'm an only child. I don't have to even have to worry about it.
That's fair.
That's funny. So so we had to talk about that scene. I mean,
yeah.
This is such a thing.
And then he just rides off and leaves her in the rain. It's like, nah, we're done.
It's glorious. I love the confusion going on in his head because he was already attracted, but now it's his aunt.
Yeah, and her being annoyed that he's just being like this as well all of a sudden.
Yeah, it feels like he's just been standoffish, but we know it's a good reason, and we know she won't believe him.
Well, why would she? Oh, you said my kid brother went to the past. Okay. Was actually your dad?
Wild speculation time, right? This is out of nowhere. I have nothing to back this up. I'm just throwing it out just in the off chance that it turns out to be accurate. They have a child. That child is Aleksander, who goes back in time. Which makes...
It was Boris and Ewald.
Oh, sorry. You know what I mean? Boris. They have Boris.
But we saw his surname.
Well, Okay, fine.
Oh, yeah, I wonder.
People can change their names.
Hannah was like, oh, Nivald, that's a interesting name. Wonder if she knows the name for whatever reason.
Oh, maybe she does. Yeah, I'm expecting some sort of weird incestception that
Yeah, what if
happens
it
at
was
some
like,
point.
her mother's maiden name or something like that?
Oh, that's wacky.
Someone's maiden name, at least, is
Yeah.
why that they can swerve it to be a family relation, but we didn't know.
Yeah, someone's maiden name, so related to one of the ladies in one of the families. Yeah.
Yeah, that could be a thing.
That could be a thing. Yeah.
Not
Dunno.
not necessarily to do with her, because I don't know if that's the best one to do, but just someone.
Oh, of course, yeah, yeah. Uh, I was just throwing it out there too. I just thought it would make it even funnier. But anyway,
Yeah.
that is us. That is episode 9. We'll see if we top the runtime of this discussion in the finale, but that should be in the next day or so.
Yeah, I didn't expect this to be as long as it was.
There's a lot of meat once you start to unpack it.
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
So that is Dark, episode 9. So let us know what you think of this episode in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mail_fuzz. If you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv. You can do that over there. Link in the description to that as well, some other useful things. But that is us. So thank you once again for watching. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla? When do you have any vanilla?